It's summer 2022 and we're back on the AT. This time we're going from Gorham, New Hampshire to Andover, Maine, which is about 41 miles. Well, that's my section at least. My dad is doing 184 miles in 1 month. After this, he'll just have one more trip and then he'll finish the trail. The section we were on was really tough. There are a lot of steep, rocky climbs and technical downhills. A lot of the trip we found that we were only hiking around 1 mile per hour or less. Here's a view of Mount Washington and the presidentials. As always, I was able to use my radio on the trail, participating in SOTA, Summits on the Air. This was our first night at the Trident Coal tent site. We set up, got some water, had a bite to eat, and then pretty much relaxed and went to bed. The next morning, we were heading to the Gentian Pond campsite, which is about 4.9 miles. 4.9 miles doesn't sound like a lot, but remember the terrain in New Hampshire is extremely rough. We were also taking it easy because my dad was doing 184 miles total. We arrived at the Gentian Pond campsite. This campsite had wooden platforms for tents, which was really nice. We got our water, which was a little bit tinted, just before it started raining, which was a good opportunity to test out my new tent, which did great in the rain. It was a little chilly in the morning. We could see our breath on the way out. We stopped at another SOTA summit. This time I was able to make a contact with NJ10, which was about 94 miles in distance.
Charlie Alpha, Norway, Japan, 1 Ocean, November, Juliet, 1 Oscar. Good morning.
We made it to Maine, which is a new AT state for me. We got to the Carlo Coal campsite around lunchtime, set up, and went out looking for water. This morning we were headed to the Full Goose Shelter, which was our last stop before one of the most challenging sections on the entire AT, the Notch. There were a lot of parts where we had to abandon our trekking poles and use our hands to scramble up the rocks. We arrived at the Full Goose shelter. The water was a little tinted, but it was ice cold. The next morning we left early because we had a really long day ahead. First, we had to hike about 2 miles and start the notch. We arrived at the notch, which is a 1-mile section of gigantic boulders scattered about. You have to climb up, over, under, and around these gigantic boulders to get through. Just getting in the notch, as you go down, you drop about 20 degrees in temperature and you can really feel it. If you look in the cracks and crevices in the notch, you can see ice. It took us about 2.5 hours to get through the 1-mile section of the notch. Up next is the grueling climb up Mahoosuc Arm, which ascends nearly 1,500 feet in just under a mile. It started raining and storming after our climb up the arm. We got some water, and with the hardest section behind us, we plowed ahead for the final 5 miles. After an almost 12-hour day, we finally got off the trail around 5:30 p.m. The next morning, I continued on solo for about 10 miles from Route 26 to East Bee Hill Road in Andover, Maine, where I finished my hike. See you next time from Virginia, where I'll be heading south.